Over the years, I've spent a lot of time in this room. Well, in the kitchen, not necessarily this kitchen, but I've spent a lot of time in the kitchen making one recipe or another. And I can remember all the way back to when I was actually shorter than the countertop in the kitchen, that I was in there using a chair and standing up on a chair and mixing this or mixing that in a bowl, helping my mom make dinner or cookies or whatever it was. My mother used to love being in the kitchen, and over the years, different recipes stand out in your mind. You make a lot of you make a lot of recipes over the years, and a lot of the recipes just they're one-offs, if you will. And then there are recipes that you just never forget. And I remember when I was growing up back in Cleveland, Ohio, or the Cleveland area, I should say. On our birthdays, we got to choose. We always got to choose what we were going to have for dinner, and I would always choose tuna casserole. Interestingly enough, even though I wouldn't eat fish on Lent on Fridays, I like tuna casserole for whatever reason, especially when they put the little peas in in the tuna casserole. But anyway, another recipe that stands out from my childhood was three-hole chocolate cake. Three-hole chocolate cake, and that was a recipe that was given to me by one of my customers on my paper route. And I had a customer. Her name was Mrs. Sweeney. Mrs. Sweeney, and she was married to Judge Sweeney. And Judge Sweeney passed away, and Mrs. Sweeney was a widow, and I used to help her carry things in from the garage or do whatever. She was just a wonderful, wonderful lady, and I think she was well into her 70s or 80s at that point in time, and she used to always give me this when I would deliver the paper. Oftentimes, she would give me a something sweet, and one of my favorites was this cake that she used to make, and it was called three-hole chocolate cake. And she gave me the recipe, and I used to make it at home. And I don't remember the specifics of the cake, but I know that you took all the dry ingredients, and then the recipe said that you make three little holes in the dry ingredients. And I think you poured oil in one, and you poured water in the other, or eggs. And I don't remember, but it was three-hole chocolate cake, and that was one of my favorite recipes as well. I don't even have that recipe. I don't know. Maybe you could Google it and find three-hole chocolate cake. But today I'm going to share one of my favorite recipes, and the ingredients are just right over there on the countertop. And that the recipe, it's a rather simple recipe, and chances are you probably don't even have to go out to your store to pick up any of the ingredients other than maybe the meat itself. But it comes from this book here, the Sonoma Diet. The Sonoma Diet: trimmer waist, better health in just 10 days. Enjoy foods with flavor, lose weight for life. And this is based on I used to live in Sonoma County out in California. And the diet is based on a Mediterranean diet, very, very similar to what you might find in certain regions of Italy, for example. And one of my favorite recipes that I've come back to time and time again is marinated flank steak. Marinated flank steak. The prep time on it is only 20 minutes. You marinate the steak for 1 to 24 hours. Grill it for 17, and it's a rather nice recipe. And I thought, I was going to make that for dinner tonight and have a marinated flank steak. Put that on the grill and maybe make some baby potatoes and a little acorn squash or something like that, and a salad to go with it. And I thought I'd share this recipe with you, if only because it's just so easy to make. Anybody could make this recipe. So let's take a look at the ingredients. These would be the ingredients for the marinade. You have rosemary. Now they call for either fresh or dried, crushed dried spices. And the recipe calls for a quarter cup of chopped fresh rosemary, or 1 tablespoon of dried rosemary crushed. And then it also calls for a tablespoon of chopped fresh marjoram or 1 teaspoon crushed. And then you can have, it asks for oregano, so it wants some oregano, which is be a tablespoon of fresh oregano or 1 teaspoon dried oregano crushed. And then it goes on, it asks for 3 garlic cloves, which I've already chopped those or minced those rather. It's 3 garlic cloves minced, 1.5 teaspoons minced. And the recipe continues on, and it wants 1.5 teaspoons of paprika, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of crushed red pepper, and 1 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. I don't have any freshly ground, but I'm going to use the pure ground that you see there in the can. And then 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And that's your recipe. So you can see what I've done with the steak. The steak I've actually flank steak is it's got the grain, going the lengthwise. So what I did was I just took a knife and I scored it. You see, just kind of like that. Scored it diagonally both ways crisscross. And I did the same on both sides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub that marinade that you see right there. And what I actually believe that I might have not put in enough rosemary. So I'm going to chop up or ground or crush a little bit more rosemary. I think I only added a teaspoon when I should have added a tablespoon. But we'll be right back, and then I'm just going to put the marinade into the meat there. I've added a little bit more rosemary, and I've taken about half of the marinade. You see, marinade. You could almost call this a rub, and I don't know if I can focus on that or not. It's a little bit difficult with this camera, but anyway, we will. What we're going to do now is I'm just going to rub this. Just going to rub this across the steak, just like that. And just kind of rub it into the slots, if you will, and get it all nice. And then let this marinate for the better part of the day. And then come dinner time, I'll fire up the grill, and we'll have just a wonderful dinner. And this is a recipe really that anybody can do. It's just so easy to make this. And the flavors, it's got a little bit of a kick with the red pepper. It's got a little bit of a kick to it, but not too much, to be quite honest with you. It's just it's a little bit on the spicy side, but it sure is good. So I'm going to let this marinate. I'll put this into the refrigerator and take it out about an hour, 30 minutes into an hour before actually putting it on the grill, and let it come to room temperature. But there it is, folks, your marinated flank steak. Let's get it in the fridge, and then we'll be back a little bit later. It is dinner time. Well, almost dinner time. The steak has been marinating for the better part of several hours, and I just pulled it out of the refrigerator about an hour ago to bring it up to room temperature. So I'm going to put this on the Barbie, as my friend Oz would say, down under. And then to complement the steak, I'm going to use my Ninja Foodie here, and just a wonderful steamer. You see, I've got some broccoli all ready to go with this. So I'm going to go ahead and just fire that up. Let's see if I can't get that going. So that's going now. That's steaming. And then some baby potatoes. Steak and broccoli and some wonderful baby potatoes that I'm going to cook at 425 for about 15 minutes. And while all that's cooking, there's the salad. You got to have the salad. I love my salad. This is probably the same salad that I've been making for years, and I've never really had quite a complaint about the salad. It's got the croutons and the tomatoes and the bell pepper and onion and mushroom and and then a mix of different leaf lettuce. So let's get the steak on the Barbie. The temperature on the barbecue, this is a little barbecue I picked up. It's a portable barbecue, or supposed to be portable. And I just have it sitting on an old bookcase waiting to go out to Goodwill. But I had thought I would just throw this in my truck and take it on my trip across America, but ended up not doing it. So we've got a really nice hot fire going in here right now. And I'm just going to take this and throw my steak on and just let that cook for a little while. And boy, that's going to be good. One of the interesting things I learned about cooking was it was all in the timing. I was a cook. I used to cook for 800 people a night. That's right, 800. My mother cooked for 12 a night. And I cooked for the better part of 800 people a night. And in doing so, I learned very quickly it's all about the timing. Get everything going and get everything done so get everything timed so it's just gonna come out just right. And I've got the broccoli steaming for about another 5 minutes. The potatoes are in the oven. They'll be out in about 5 or 6 minutes. And I'll go down and turn the steak over and give that about another 5 minutes, about 4 or 5 minutes per side. So it's all in the timing. That's really it is. And there you have it. I'd be lying if I said I didn't taste it already. It is fantastic. And you see, I like it medium. And it came out just perfect. Absolutely, absolutely perfect. So I'll get this served up with the rest of the dinner, and it should be it should be a wonderful evening. And dinner is served. Marinated flank steak. Doesn't that look absolutely fantastic with some baby potatoes and some steamed broccoli and a wonderful, wonderful salad? I've learned to do many things over the years. I learned to ride a bike. I learned to swim. I learned my ABCs. I learned how to design websites. But you know what? I think learning how to cook, was probably one of the very, very best things that I possibly could have ever learned. And boy, does that look good. Have a great evening.